Section 10.3, page 286 for your student journal. Proofs with parallel lines. So in 10.2, what we were looking at is, if the lines are already parallel, as in if you see that you have the little arrows, then it shows that the lines are parallel. Then what relationships are there? And so at the beginning of this section, then we're reviewing that 10.2 material. We see that corresponding angles in the same position, are congruent. We see that alternate interior angles are congruent. We see that alternate exterior angles are also congruent. And lastly, we see that consecutive interiors are supplementary. So those are the four relationships. Consecutive interiors are supplementary. The other three, corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, are all congruent. And that's if we have established already that the lines are parallel. In this section, we're going to be looking at the relationship in reverse, which is to say here, we don't know that they're parallel yet. But we do know if two lines are cut by a transversal, so the corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So we don't know that they're parallel yet, but the information that we're starting off with is that, corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, well, if the corresponding angles are congruent, then we can say that they're parallel, at which point we would, add the arrows. So again, 10.2 is the lines are already parallel. Here are the relationships. In this section, it's, I don't know if the line is parallel, or I don't know if the lines are parallel, but if the relationship exists, then the lines are parallel. And what are those relationships? They're the same relationships as in 10.2. So here the first one is if corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. Again, this is just one example of corresponding angles. It could be these two, the bottom right. It could be these two, the top left. And it could be the bottom left, those two. So that's corresponding angles converse. The alternate interior angles converse is, again, and this goes for all four of them. I do not know if the lines are parallel, but if the relationship exists, then I can go ahead and say that they're parallel. So the alternate exterior angles converse says, if the alternate interior angles are congruent, then these two lines are parallel. Well, they have congruent symbols, so I can show that they're parallel. Next is the consecutive interior angles, which is that they're supplementary if they are supplementary. So again, I can't stress this enough. In 10.2, it was the parallel lines. I'm telling you the lines are parallel. Then those relationships come from that, the lines are already parallel. Everything in this section is the other way around. It's, if this relationship happens first, then the lines are parallel. So we switched it up. Okay, not relating to the converses is the transitive property of parallel lines. If P is parallel to Q and Q is parallel to R, then P is also parallel to R. An analogy for this is that if person A is friends with person B, and person B is friends with person C, then the first and the last person also have this connection of being friends, or in this case, being parallel. Okay, so let's go into this. Again, if you look at all these pictures, you'll see that not in a single one of these do we have the parallel symbol. And that's because we don't know. We don't know if they're parallel yet. We have to use our decision making or our judgment to decide if things are parallel or not. So in 1 and 2, it says find the value of x that makes parallel to n. Well, first of all, we should establish what kind of relationship there is between the two angles. And once we establish the relationship, then we can say, those angles will be congruent, so we'll set them equal to each other. Or, the angles will be supplementary, so we should add them together and set them equal to 180. So, Take a second, and I'll ask you, what is the relationship between these two angles? You should actually like think about it. So they're in the same position. They're in the. If I look at this right here, these four angles, it's at the bottom, bottom right, and then out of these four angles, also in the bottom right. So these are corresponding angles, and obviously I remember it, but I'm modeling you guys like looking back at your notes. If two lines are cut by a transversal, so the corresponding angles are congruent. So if they're corresponding angles, the relationship is congruent for the lines to be parallel. So I would write something like 95 congruent means that these two angles measures will be equal to each other. 8x plus 55. Next time I should type that because boy is that ugly. So again, we're using the course. Oh, it says explain your reasoning. Oh, here's my reasoning. The corresponding angles converse. The corresponding angles converse. You can literally just write that. Corresponding angles converse. For this one, okay, well, this is in the bottom right, and this is in the top left, so they're definitely not corresponding, right? So let's move on and see what we got otherwise. Alternate interior angles converse. The alternate interior angles would be these two or these two, so that's no good. Alternate exterior angles. They're on. Oh, this one's on the top of the transversal. This one's at the bottom. Oh, and they're both outside. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is alternate exteriors, and I'll actually change the colors so that we differentiate. This is alternate exterior angles, and what does it say about the alternate exterior angles? Oh, if two lines are cut by a transversal, so the alternate exterior angles are congruent. That means I will go ahead and set, and I said I would type it and make it neater. The angle measures are equal to each other. 200 minus 2x is equal to 130. Again, if we ever came across a relationship where it was consecutive interiors, and we would add them up and say, oh, angle 3 plus angle 5 equals 180. But this is not that. They're congruent, so that's why. Okay. Decide whether there is enough information to prove that M is parallel to N. If so, state the theorem you would use. Okay, so again, let's see here. Bottom right, bottom right. Oh, same position. Okay, what is that? So there's two parts. Is there enough information? That's a yes or no. And then, if so, state the theorem you would use. So we could go ahead and start by saying yes, there is enough information because it has two angles that are corresponding. The corresponding, oh, why can't I space? The corresponding angles converse. I don't know why I can't space, but you can just write them next to each other. My space bar is weird. Okay, let's look at this one. Decide whether there is enough information. So that's the first part. So let's see. Are they both on the top right? Well, no. This is on top right, top left, and they're not even the same. They're not even comparing the sets. Alternate interiors would be here and here, but there's no congruent symbol. There's only one here. There's none here showing that they're congruent, and there's nothing here entirely. Alternate interiors, well, there's one congruent symbol here, but there's none here, and there's one here, or sorry, there's none here and there's none here. So we've covered it's not alternate interiors. We've covered that they're not corresponding. We've covered that they're not alternate exteriors. And the last thing we should check is, do the consecutive interiors add up to 180? We'll look at it. We can't say anything about these two. We just don't know. They're just not, all we see is a symbol here, and that this is, there's no congruent symbol. So the relationship here is vertical. They're vertical angles because they're across from each other and they're equal. But let's go back. Is there a vertical angles corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior? No, there's no vertical angles converse to relate parallel lines because these are just across from each other. But we got to think about like the relationship between this line and this line. So, in short, the answer is no. There's not enough information. That's it. No. Okay, next. So we're trying to decide if M is parallel to N. So M parallel to N, which we're trying to compare, this set of angles with this set of angles. So all that to say is that R is basically the trap to distract you, but R isn't saying anything about this picture. Look at R. We don't know anything about these four angles, and we don't know anything about these four angles, except, it forms a line. So this one plus this one adds up to 180. This one and this one add up to 180, etc., etc. But it doesn't say anything about the relationship between M and N. So we can safely ignore R. So again, we're looking at these four and comparing them to these four angles. So, do we have a relationship of corresponding? Top left, top left? No. Bottom right? Bottom right? No. Alternate interiors? Here and here, are they congruent? No. Alternate exteriors? Here and here? No, otherwise the symbol would have to be in both angles. And then alternate exteriors here? No, we don't know if they're congruent or not. There's no symbol to tell us that. So, this is actually just like number 4. We do not have enough information. Consecutive interiors, we don't know if they add up to 180 or not. So, we can go ahead and say no, a big fat no. Lastly, number 6. Are M and N parallel? Does S have anything to do with it? No, it does not. So we could actually safely ignore S as well. And if you can't mentally ignore S, you can scribble it out like as unnecessary information. So let's see here. We're comparing these 4 with these 4. Are the corresponding congruent? Bottom left, bottom left? No, there's no symbol here. Top right, top right? Nope, because there would have to be a congruent symbol there. Let's see. Alternate interiors would be here. That's a no. What is the relationship here? Oh, they're alternate exteriors. So the answer is yes. Yes, the alternate exterior angles are congruent. And so this is the alternate exterior angles converse. And that's it. So this whole time, throughout the whole assignment, you should be looking to establish whether there is a relationship of congruence out of those 4 relationships. Corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, and then for consecutive interiors, they should be supplementary. And that's it. If they are, then there is enough information for you to say, oh yeah, like the lines are parallel. But if there's not, as in 4 and 5, then we just say, no, I can't do anything about it. That's all. So that's it. That's the lesson. Let me know if you have any questions.